Mr Speaker, I'm delighted to speak to the first reading of my colleague Honourable Tau Hinere's Members' Bill. This bill amends the Employment Relations Act 2000 to require unions to hold a secret ballot vote of their members to approve a strike before undertaking any strike action. I understand that this is current practice in the larger unions, and I absolutely support that this is the current practice. But, Mr Speaker, this may not be the case in smaller unions, and I do respect the work of unions and organisations such as the Council of Trade Unions. Their philosophy and driving force is that everyone has the right to decent and productive work in conditions of freedom, equity, security and human dignity. And, Mr Speaker, who wouldn't support that sentiment? Mr Speaker, when this bill was drawn, it was somewhat controversial. Some Labour members and others came out saying that it's not necessary as it was already current practice. The EPMU originally said when the bill came out of the ballot it was out of touch and not needed as already secret ballots are practice. Well, that may be the case for the large unions and those affiliated to the CTU, but they don't represent all unions. They only represent 80% of unions and they don't speak for all. I'm pleased, however, to see that the CTU have come out in support in principle, and they are to be commended for that. However, they are concerned that the bill is not balanced and believe it must be changed to also require employers to follow democratic procedures, including a secret ballot of shareholders prior to a lockout. Mr Speaker, that is what the Select Committee process is for. It is the right place to hear all the arguments and the evidence. The Select Committee will invite public submissions and work through the issues raised and decide what changes, if any, should be made to the bill. It will be a better bill coming out of the Select Committee. And that is the place where amendments can be made to improve the bill. I'm pleased that Labour colleagues are supporting the bill, as Maori Party colleagues. I'm also pleased to see that the CTU have indicated they will be making a submission when the bill gets to Select Committee. There's no point in making legislation for the sake of making legislation. Parliament needs to make laws to improve the current situation, and I'm sure this bill will do exactly that. And why this bill may be current practice and no one would disagree with that sentiment, why shouldn't it be enshrined in law? Why not? Mr Speaker, no workers should be made to feel intimidated or under pressure to vote or not to vote for strike action. No worker should feel coerced to vote in a certain way. It should be a free vote, and it must be a personal choice. That is the democratic way, and I'm sure no one would disagree with that. When strike action is contemplated, no doubt emotions run high. Both sides feel aggrieved. Strike action is the last resort when all avenues have been exhausted and there's been a dead end, and there's been no agreement reached. So contemplating strike action is a high stakes and no doubt a tense time for all concerned. Mr Speaker, objectivity can be lost in situations like this, and it's not too hard to see if there wasn't a secret ballot how a worker could feel intimidated to vote in a certain way. And also, let's not forget, strikes can be incredibly stressful financially and emotionally for a worker. And not every worker is going to have the same personal circumstance, so that it's a fair, any decision they make is free of judgment from anywhere else. People must feel at ease with the process, and this bill will ensure it is a legal requirement for all unions. Mr Speaker, I commend this bill to the House.